The power of not reacting. Buddhist wisdom. Perhaps you have experienced this feeling before. Someone says something harsh to you, your heartbeat quickens, your face grows hot, and there is only one thought in your mind: you must fight back. You must react. You must show that you are not weak and that they cannot disrespect you. That reaction comes fast, almost automatically. A sharp word slips out, a glare, a frustrated gesture. And then, when the anger fades, what remains is a heavy heart. You realize that not only were you hurt by the initial words, but you were also dragged into deeper suffering by your own reaction. Sometimes, the rest of the day is ruined simply because of one moment where you could not control yourself. The truth is, reacting is a natural instinct. From childhood, we learn to defend ourselves in this way. When teased, we cried. When someone took our toy, we grabbed it back. When wronged, we shouted. The habit of reacting grew stronger as we aged, until we believed that immediate reaction was a sign of strength, a way to protect ourselves. But we forget something important. Every impulsive reaction is a moment we hand over control of our emotions to others. When someone angers you and you instantly lash out, it means they have managed to control your state of mind. What belonged to you, your peace, your calmness, is now in their hands. Buddhism offers us a very different perspective. The Buddha once said, "Holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned first." Through this teaching, we see clearly that reaction is not always strength. In fact, it is often weakness. The one who explodes at the slightest insult is the one who can be most easily manipulated. But the one who remains calm, who does not react, that person is truly free. Imagine this. Someone insults you, but instead of reacting, you smile quietly and remain silent. Their words cannot reach the depth of your heart. They may continue to provoke you, but it is they who will grow restless while you remain in peace. That is the power of non-reaction, silent but profound strength. In our modern world, where daily life is filled with pressure, stress, and constant friction with others, the ability to remain calm is even more precious. We are easily drawn into arguments on social media, into judgments from colleagues, family, or even strangers. Without mastering our reactions, we will always live as prisoners of endless conflict and agitation. And that is why today, we explore one of Buddhism's most powerful teachings, the power of not reacting. In the sections ahead, we will ask, why is every reaction an act of giving away our power? Why is silence not weakness, but true strength? And how can we practice holding our calmness, even in moments when emotions threaten to overwhelm us? If you have ever felt exhausted by your own anger, if you have felt too easily swayed by the words and actions of others, then this teaching may open a new path for you, a path to freedom and peace within. Every reaction is giving away power in life. We often believe that reacting quickly to someone's words or actions is a way to assert ourselves, to prove that we are not weak. Yet if we look more deeply, we will realize that every impulsive reaction is actually a moment where we give our power away. When someone provokes you and you immediately become angry, it means that you have allowed your emotions to be controlled. What truly belongs to you, your calmness, your peace, has now been placed in the hands of another. With just a few words, a look, or a gesture, they can disrupt your entire day. Reaction is an instinct of self-defense, but it is also a trap. Most of the time, it does not come from wisdom, but from hurt pride and wounded ego. The Buddha once said, "Holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned first." These words remind us that insults and provocations are like unwanted gifts. If someone offers you such a gift and you accept it, it becomes yours. But if you refuse to take it, it remains with the giver. In the same way, when you react with anger or frustration, you make their negativity your own. But if you choose not to react, that negativity returns to where it came from, and your peace remains intact. Think of a simple example. After a long and tiring day at work, a colleague makes a sarcastic comment like, "With work done this way, when will it ever be finished?" If you react immediately, snapping back with, "And you think you're any better," an argument begins. The air becomes tense, and you spend the rest of your day angry and upset. But if you choose not to react, if you simply smile and continue with your task, the matter ends right there. The other person may grow annoyed because they cannot provoke you, but soon they will run out of reasons to keep trying. Meanwhile, you have protected your energy and your peace. This is the difference between giving your power away and keeping it for yourself. Why are we so easily triggered? It often comes down to 3 reasons. The ego, which always wants to defend itself, the habit of reacting without pausing, and the lack of mindfulness, which allows emotions to take control. Because of these, even the smallest spark can ignite a raging fire of anger inside us. And yet, Buddhism offers another path. Instead of reacting, we can observe. The next time you feel anger rising, try telling yourself, "This is anger appearing. I feel heat rising in my chest. My mind wants to explode." And by naming and observing the emotion, you create a distance between yourself and it. And in that distance lies your freedom. Each impulsive reaction is a moment where someone else holds the remote control of your mind. They press a button, and you respond. But when you choose not to react, you take that control back. Act. You are no longer a machine operated by others, but the true master of yourself. The great strength lies not in being quick to fight back, but in staying calm and standing firm while others try to shake you. For every time you choose non-reaction, you are affirming your inner power, protecting your peace, and reclaiming your freedom. The power of silence. If impulsive reaction is the act of giving away our power, then silence is the way we keep it within ourselves. Too many, silence is often misunderstood as weakness, as cowardice, as the inability to stand up for oneself. Buddhism shines a very different light. Silence is not surrender, it is the highest expression of inner strength. When we choose silence, it is not because we have nothing to say, but because we recognize that speaking in anger would only cause harm. It means we are strong enough not to be driven by the urge to prove ourselves in every argument. Silence is strength because it demands restraint, mindfulness, and wisdom beyond instinct. Imagine your mind as a lake. When the wind blows, the surface ripples and distorts every reflection. But when the wind calms, the water becomes still, and everything is reflected with clarity. Our minds are the same. When shaken by anger and argument, we cannot see things as they are, but when still and silent, the truth reveals itself. There is a famous story from the Buddhist scriptures. Once, while the Buddha was teaching, a man came forward and began insulting him with harsh, bitter words. Yet the Buddha remained silent, calm, and smiling. Frustrated, the man finally demanded, "Do you not hear me?" The Buddha replied gently, "If someone offers you a gift and you do not accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" It remains with the giver. The words of insult, like unwanted gifts, were not accepted, and so they stayed with the one who delivered them. This silence was not born of fear, it was born of wisdom and freedom. In daily life, we can clearly see the value of silence. The hot-tempered person who reacts to every slight ends up in constant conflict, draining themselves of peace and credibility. But the one who knows how to stay calm, who chooses silence when it is wise, carries an aura of strength, reliability, In influence, they do not need to raise their voice, because their quiet presence already commands respect. This is the strength of inner stillness, nurtured through awareness. Of course, maintaining silence is not easy. It requires continuous practice. When provoked, our instinct is to fight back, to justify ourselves, to retaliate. But if we can pause, take a deep breath, and simply watch our emotions rise and fall, we begin to discover the space between ourselves and our anger. That space is the foundation of silence. Practices like meditation and mindful breathing help cultivate this capacity. Even just a few minutes each day of sitting quietly, observing the breath, can gradually train the mind to remain steady in the face of storms. It is important to remember, silence does not mean ignoring injustice or accepting wrong. It simply means refusing to be drawn into a destructive cycle of anger and conflict. From the ground of silence, we can act calmly, wisely, compassionately, without being consumed by rage. This is what makes silence such a profound form of strength. The silent person is not one with nothing to say, but one who knows that not everything is worthy of disturbing their peace. In relationships, silence allows us to listen more deeply, to understand rather than to wound. In work, silence keeps us free from unnecessary drama and allows us to see situations clearly. And in our spiritual life, silence opens the door to awakening. For only in silence can we touch the stillness that lies beneath the noise of the world. The power of silence is this: it does not shout, it does not demand attention, but it cannot be shaken. It is like a mountain unmoved by storms, like the depth of the ocean undisturbed by surface waves. To cultivate silence is to cultivate unshakable strength. It means that when others shout, you can remain still. When others provoke, you can smile. When the world around you stirs with chaos, you can rest in peace. This is not weakness, it is mastery. It is the quiet power that no one can take from you, because it rises from within. And when you learn to embrace silence, you no longer live as a victim of emotion, but as the master of your own life. When you master your reactions, you master your life. There is a truth that becomes clearer the more we experience life. When you master your reactions, you master your life. Life will never move exactly as you wish. People will not always be kind, and circumstances will not always be favorable. If every change outside of you has the power to make you angry, anxious, or hopeless, then you will forever be dragged along by the world. But if you can remain calm, if you can choose not to react impulsively, you cease to be a victim of circumstance, and instead become the guide of your own journey. One of the greatest sources of suffering is our habit of letting others decide our emotions. When someone praises us, we are happy. When they criticize, we are sad. When they insult us, we burn with anger. When they ignore us, we feel wounded. Life becomes a mirror of other people's behavior, and we forget that we alone have the power to choose our response. To let others dictate your moods is to hand them the keys to your life. In doing so, you lose your most precious freedom, the freedom of the mind. By contrast, those who master their reactions are not easily swayed by praise or criticism. They know that praise is but a passing breeze, and criticism only an echo that soon fades. Their minds stand steady like a mountain unmoved by the wind, and in that steadiness, they find confidence and true autonomy. Consider the great spiritual teachers and wise leaders of history. Their strength did not lie in quick tempers or sharp tongues, but in their calm presence amidst turmoil. A wise leader does not need to shout louder than others. Their quiet clarity commands respect. Spiritual master does not argue endlessly. To prove truth, their silence itself becomes a teaching. They understand that anger only breeds confusion, while calmness reveals strength. Their example shows us that to master your reactions is to master your destiny. Mastery of reaction also gives you a priceless space, the space to choose. Each time you pause before responding, you create the chance to act with wisdom rather than instinct. For example, when someone insults you, instinct demands retaliation. But when you hold your calm, you might choose instead to smile, to remain silent, or to walk away without carrying their poison. This choice is freedom. It breaks the cycle of conflict and plants seeds of peace instead. In truth, hot-tempered people are the easiest to control. Just a single word can make them explode. A small action can push them into chaos. They believe they are strong because they react, but in reality, they are being manipulated. The calm person, however, cannot be so easily swayed. They are not controlled by others because they control themselves. They are the true masters of their minds and therefore of their lives. Reaching this mastery requires training. The Buddha compared the mind to a wild horse, left untamed. It runs chaotically, dragging us wherever it wishes. But with steady practice through mindfulness and discipline, we can hold the reins firmly and guide it. Every time we choose patience instead of anger, observation instead of reaction, calmness instead of chaos, we are training the mind to be steady and obedient. This is how mastery is built, moment by moment. The benefits of mastering reaction extend to every part of life. In family, it prevents needless arguments and nurtures harmony. In work, it builds trust and allows clear decision-making under pressure. In society, it earns respect and credibility. And in the inner life, it opens the door to profound freedom, no longer enslaved by emotions, but living from a place of clarity and peace. And perhaps the most beautiful part is this: when you finally master your reactions, the world outside seems to change. People no longer upset you so easily. Circumstances no longer throw you into despair. Not because the world has changed, but because you have. You have discovered a power that comes from within, the power of self-mastery. From then on, your life is not shaped by storms outside, but by the calm ocean within. In the end, when we look back at the entire journey, it becomes clear that true strength does not lie in quick reactions, but in steady calmness. Impulsive reaction steals away our freedom. For each outburst of anger or conflict is a moment where we allow others to control our minds. Silence, on the other hand, protects our inner peace, gives us space to see clearly, and empowers us to act with wisdom instead of impulse. Only when we are not consumed by provocation, criticism, or judgment can we truly be masters of ourselves. Buddhism teaches that life will always be filled with trials and challenges. We cannot stop people from saying hurtful things, nor can we control every circumstance. But what we can control is our response. Those who cannot master their reactions live like leaves in the wind, blown here and there by every change. Those who can remain calm live like the rooted tree, unmoved even as the storm passes. This is the essence of true freedom. It does not come from the outer world, but from the mastery of the mind. If you reflect on the moments you regret most in life, many of them likely began with an impulsive reaction, a careless word that hurt someone, a burst of anger that broke a relationship, a rash decision made in the heat of emotion. These regrets are the result of letting reaction lead instead of wisdom. But when you learn to pause, to observe, and to choose stillness, these regrets begin to fade, placed by clarity and peace. Try a simple practice. In the coming week, when someone irritates you, resist the urge to react. Do not rush to argue or defend yourself. Take a deep breath and silently remind yourself, This is anger arising, but I am not my anger. You may be surprised to see how quickly the emotion loses its grip and how your mind remains free. In that space, wisdom awakens. Silence does not mean weakness, and non-reaction does not mean surrender. It means you are strong enough not to be ruled by your emotions, and wise enough to act only when action brings peace, not harm. You choose non-reaction. You are not only protecting your own peace, but also planting seeds of peace for others. A person who does not lash out does not create more conflict, but instead spreads calmness, like ripples moving gently across water. Thus, the power of non-reaction is more than a method of self-control. It is a path to compassion and awakening. Without the fog of anger, you can see others with kindness. Without the chains of reaction, you can live in freedom. And in this freedom, you realize that life is no longer about fighting for right and wrong, but about returning to the deep well of peace within yourself. Remember the Buddhist teaching. The greatest victory is not conquering thousands of men in battle, but conquering oneself. Mastering yourself begins in the smallest of choices. When you choose silence over argument, a smile over anger, peace over reaction, each of these moments becomes a stone laid upon the path toward a life of freedom and happiness. In the end, the power of non-reaction is the key to unlocking wisdom, compassion, and inner peace. You do not need to control the world, nor can you control others, but you can always control yourself. And when you master your reactions, you master your life.